Joining us now, she is the former UCF softball great, the all-time leader in wins among many categories she owns at UCF. But now she has a new title. She is the new assistant coach at North Georgia, and that's where she joins us from. There, their beautiful facilities over there. Alea White joining us here and in the circle. How you doing?
Doing great, Elo. Thank you so much for having me.
Now you are actually doing this from the from the softball stadium by the outfield, correct?
Yes, I'm actually on the new terrace that was just built last year, and it overlooks our beautiful field.
That's a pretty cool setup. So let's talk about your new job here. Take us through it. How did this come about? What was it that got you interested, A, getting into coaching, and B, joining Mike Davenport's staff?
Well, getting into coaching is actually a funny story. Up until my freshman year, I went into college not having any idea what I wanted to do. I just chose a major in kinesiology, and just honestly because it had a different route I could take no matter what, different paths I could take. It wasn't until my junior year that I realized, after working all of the UCF camps, that I just fell in love with coaching and watching the girls learn so much and just put a smile on their face was super awesome. And I was excited to get into coaching. That's really what made me get into it. And leading up to this position with Coach Davenport, I worked camps last year. So I met a few of the girls there. And honestly, it's awesome because I'm close to home and close with my family. And that's honestly just meant to be.
What's it like? Obviously, you get to work with Coach Davenport, one of the most successful coaches in college softball, regardless of the division. That's also a nice, added value to that.
Yes, working with Coach Davenport, I'm so excited to get started. I'm only a week in, and it's been so fun and so awesome. Um, I've already done so many things. We had camp last week on Wednesday, and I went out recruiting. So this last week has been absolutely awesome and so fun. And I'm looking forward to a great season.
Let's talk about what's going to be your pitching philosophy as the pitching coach there. Obviously, that'll be among your roles. You can even, if you want to expand on the other roles you have, but what more specifically the pitching side? What's your philosophy that you hope to teach the players?
Yeah, my philosophy, I think, kind of goes off of, I wouldn't say how I am or the type of player I am, but I'm looking for someone who's confident, who can command and lead the field. And you know me, of course, having to have a good type of off speed that can keep the hitters off balance and show good deception as well.
You've been around pitching coaches throughout your entire life since you grew up in softball, going back to getting lessons from people like Casey Clark and Jackie Davis, the Tampa pitching coach over there, is a legend in Tampa area. To Division One, you came to UCF, played for Coach Renee Gillespie, who obviously was a pitcher herself, ran, and then of course Cindy Ball-Malone, who was an All-American pitcher and two-way player over the Pacific, and you got to play for her, and then coach on her staff this past year as a grad coach. Take me through all of those people I just mentioned, among other many others. I'm sure is influenced as far as your philosophy and your style as well in coaching.
Yeah, I've had many different pitching coaches growing up when I was younger, and like you said, in college, and all of them played a different factor, which led me here today. And I'll start with when my first ever pitching lesson. I was just 10 years old. It was with Amy Johnston, and I just remember her telling me like I had what it takes and just to keep pursuing pitching, which at 10 years old, you don't know anything by that. But I took her advice and moved on to my next pitching coach, who was Adrienne Cherry from Tennessee. And she just taught me the basics of pitching and the fundamentals. And that was a big stepping stone for me. I got the proper mechanics and led me to another pitching coach here in Georgia, Renee Espinoza. She was out of FSU. And she really helped me learn my legs and my power and what that takes to drive off the mound, which leads me to moving to Florida. Well, like you said, I met Casey Zerby, and I was with her for over 5 years. Um, and she just taught me the mental side of the game. Having a game within a game if your defense is rough or your hitting's not there. But just competing and still having that game within a game. And, we got to share our faith, and that really showed our bond that we had for many years. And then leading to Jackie Davis, obviously, like you said, University of Tampa, she just got me. She was a pitching coach that just understood me and showed me what it was like to have fun and not take things so seriously and be so hard on myself, and really taught me what it was like to be okay with my skin. And obviously, Coach G, same thing. She taught me just how to be calm and relaxed. I think anyone who knows me knows how competitive I am. So that was difficult to learn, I would say, going into my freshman year with Coach G. But it definitely made me who I am today. And like you said, Coach Bear, I can't thank her enough for everything that she's done for me. And, going through a coaching change your junior year of college isn't necessarily ideal, but it's honestly been a blessing and so awesome. She has just taught me so much, and being a GA alongside of her last year, I just thankful that she allowed me to have that opportunity and come back for a 6th year to finish my master's degree. And it definitely prepared me for this assistant coach job that I have now at UNG. So thank you, Coach Bear, for everything that you do.
You mentioned obviously you got to be on her staff. What was that like after playing for her and that adjustment period? And you obviously spent a lot of time with her, with the pitchers. You spent a lot of time in the bullpen. What are some of the things you learned from her in the year, and how was it different from playing for her versus being on her staff?
Yeah, I think, like I said, the first couple months of being a GA was pretty difficult. I wouldn't say like the job requirements, but definitely like playing there and knowing the girls, and you played with them, and then Coach Bear being my coach, but now I'm working alongside of her. It was just kind of different to find what my role was. But once I did, it was awesome. It was so cool to be alongside Coach Bear in the bullpen, and I just learned a lot by observing, I would say learning to talk to each pitcher differently. They're all not the same. You can't coach them the same. They learn different. And that was super, super interesting for me to learn that, and just the difference of what that looks like.
Did she give you, have you talked to her since you got the job? Any advice she gave you? I know she was quoted in the press release that was announced when you were announced as the new assistant. What advice has she given you?
I have talked to her since I got the job. Well, I told her I got the job, but she's been pretty busy with USA, which awesome. They won a gold medal. But honestly, I think the advice she gives is just keep doing what I'm doing, rely on the core values and the culture of what I learned down there. And that's really helped me bring into UNG what our culture is and what it looks like, and relying back to the handbook. I would say is the main thing, just knowing what your core values are and what your beliefs are.
I remember because when I saw you last time in person, the impression was, well, you're going to start doing lessons and not, think of it. Was this just a situation when it came up that it was too perfect to pass up, too good to pass up a situation with North Georgia?
Yeah. Honestly, I worked camps last year, fell in love with the campus, and it was interesting because the assistant coach they had 2 years ago when I was working camps, she was leaving. So I knew that the job was up and open, and they were taking, obviously, job. And I knew I wasn't required at that time because I needed to be a GA. So they hired someone, and I thought the previous coach was there for 5 years. So I thought, they're going to be here for a while. Coach Davenport's been here for over 20 years. But I took my shot, and when it opened again this year, I was like, wow, it's meant to be. I was talking to my parents about what it would take and what it looks like. And I was just like, I'm going to take my shot again. You don't know until you actually do it. So I took my shot and I interviewed, and it's just amazing. I get to be so close to my family and my home, and it's exactly what I wanted. And I believe in what's meant to be will be.
Describe the campus for those that may not have been to Dorf, Georgia, in the area.
Yeah, well, North Georgia, we're located in Dahlonega, Georgia, and it's a small little town. Um, as you can see behind me, there's beautiful trees and mountains that overlook the campus, and it's a quaint little town. But I think for anyone who walks on campus or steps on campus, you fall in love immediately.
Pretty good. Coach Davenport's told me that too. When I've had him on the show many a times there. Have you had a chance to reflect on your time at UCF as a player, and then this past year as a grad coach, which obviously led to an American Conference regular season title, conference tournament title, hosting a regional for the first time in program history, and then obviously getting to a super regional as a grad coach? Well, have you had a chance to reflect on it?
Yeah, I mean, my time at UCF, I was there for 6 years, and honestly, all I can say is it was absolutely amazing. Every moment of it, every challenge, honestly, everything that came my way, and it was just awesome. You meet so many good friends, the memories along the way, it it's undescribable. I mean, UCF is family, um, and it's definitely home for sure.
What was it like being the grad coach and helping out Gianna Mancha, who was your teammate for a few years? Kamal Woodall, who was on the show, who told me you two were friends back to the Tampa days, both in that area, and then helping out the youngsters like a Caitlin Felton, who has told me that she looked up to you as she was being recruited and watched you play. What was it like with that dynamic?
Yeah, I loved every minute of it. Like at first with G, it was different because I was on the other side and we were literally just pitching together a few months ago. But to make that switch, it was fun. It was still the same as if I was playing, and honestly, just keeping her light and having fun. And Kama, it was awesome to reconnect. I've known her forever, like you said, in the Tampa days. Played on travel ball together for Gold Coast Hurricanes, so that was super fun just to reunite and get to have fun again. Um, Same with Kama. I think my role for her was just to keep her upbeat and keep her positive and calm in those situations. And the youngsters, like you mentioned, Caitlin Felton, she's awesome. I love her attitude and her willingness to compete, and it was fun to see her grow and learn this year and really pass the torch down, to just see what she can do in these coming up years.
Did working with a Caitlin Felton, Grace Jewell, and then obviously Angelina DeVille, the youngsters on the staff, in a way that kind of it all got you prepared for this opportunity now, because that's kind of what you're going to be doing here. You're going to be working with some young girls too, and kind of giving them your knowledge and try to get the most out of them.
Yeah, those three, Grace, Angie, and Caitlin, all their personalities are different. So, like I said before, helping them learn and helping them grow takes different aspects and takes different ways to do that. But it was so fun to, you know, joke around with them and have fun. I think was my main goal. And then some days you're just getting after it. We're working on change ups, or we're working on getting our spin better. And I think leading here with this staff, we have 3 returners coming back who just a couple months ago took them to the Division II World Series. And then we have a freshman transfer coming in, and or we have a freshman and a transfer coming in, sorry. So just getting to build this staff and really focusing on what it takes to be a staff and what that looks like, and leaning on one another. I think I would say that's part of a big role for me, is teaching them to learn from one another. And it's not just one person on the staff that's going to do it. It's going to take all of you.
I would imagine too. There's some similarities from UCF and North Georgia that you like too, from the standpoint there's high expectations, great tradition at North Georgia with the success they had, similar to what UCF with the tradition and success they've had.
Yeah, Coach Davenport's program is awesome. I mean, like you said, the history and tradition here is set. The standards are set. The expectation is set. You know what it is coming in, which I think is very big for all of our players and even me. You know what it takes and what it looks like to get there. They've been there. They've been to the World Series. They won back in 2015. So I think this year just realizing and looking back of what it looks like to win the World Series and to do that.
We're speaking with Alea White here and In the Circle. For those that don't know your story, what got you interested in getting in playing softball?
For me, I was just a little girl. I was born at a pound and a half. The doctors told my parents I wasn't going to be able to walk and I was going to be blind and paralyzed. So for me, what got me into playing softball and coaching the young people, a lot of people can tell you that you can't do something and they're wrong. Whatever you set your mind to, you can do. Whatever you believe in and whatever you want to do, you set your mind to it, you can do it. Nothing is like nothing is limitless, like
Right, you're not limited. Like, I mean, you've
right.
obviously you're being a premature birth. I mean, you dealt with a lot of stuff there that I would imagine. You're like, pitching in front of people in a regional is no big deal. I've done, right? Is that, I'm sure, and that's gonna be part of your message, I'm sure, to your players. Like, yeah, there's pressure playing, but there's nothing like compared to what other stuff you've gone through growing up. And you're right, people counted you out. They didn't, the odds. You overcame a lot of the odds. You overcame a lot of odds to get to the level that you got to. So I would imagine playing softball is a cake compared to the other stuff.
Playing softball and coaching softball is a blessing because I'm just so thankful and I don't take anything for granted because I could have had nothing. So I'm just thankful for every moment, every memory, every opportunity. Just so thankful and so blessed to be able to even be here.
I would imagine that's one of the things that probably will appeal to you about the Division II level. Not that that's not the case in Division I, but Division II, a lot of the students are kind of like appreciative just to play in the opportunity. It's not like, in the Division I, there's such scrutiny, as you went through it. And I'm curious from that standpoint, you could probably relate to a lot of Division II athletes because they've probably been told what they can or cannot do, and they've overcome some of that to get to this level.
Yeah, I think it's just going to be awesome and exciting, and I can't wait to meet the rest of the girls and get to know them and exchange stories. Because you're right, they've probably been told they can't do it or they're not going to make it, and they're wrong. They've made it and they're successful. Such a successful program here, and they're definitely going to be a force to be reckoned with for sure.
When you're in the bullpen, what are some of the things you look at when you're seeing a pitcher warm up, or even if you're seeing a pitcher throw in a game, which obviously you'll do? What are some of the things you look for? Is it a mechanical thing you're going to look for? Is it what kind of give me through your vision now as you spent the year as a grad coach and you'll be spending as a coach? What are some of the things you look for from a pitcher?
I think I just look for, starting with a good fundamentals and good mechanics. I mean, you got to have that to continue to keep going, because that if you don't, you're going to lead to injury or you're going to not be at your best. So definitely I start looking at the fundamentals and the mechanics of what it's supposed to look like, and making sure that those are right, and then leading into the spin and the location, really just being efficient, commanding the zone, just the little things that will give you that edge when we're ready to compete. And I'm excited to get to work in fall and learn all about them. And come springtime, we'll be in good shape and we'll be ready to go.
What's one thing you learned as a grad coach and being in the bullpen this year that you wish you would have known as a player?
I think being a GA taught me so much, different from a player. I think just switching my point of view, and what that looks like was huge. So coming up to UNG, I think my point of view is just different towards the athletes. I was once an athlete. I know what it takes. I know how to get there. And I think just as a GA, watching them do the same thing gives you a different type of respect and appreciation.
Was there a moment during the season at some point where you're like, oh, that's what Coach Bear meant when she told me when I was playing. That's what she meant. Now I figured it out. That's why she told me that, or something that happened as a player where you're now all of a sudden now you're on the other side of it.
I don't know, that one's kind of difficult.
That's a good PR answer. That's what I mean. That means yes. There's probably a few times that did happen, but I'm not going to admit it to Coach Bear because then she's going to remind me about it. I understand. I understand how that goes. It's good PR. Tell me about that last out in the regionals at home beating Michigan. What was that like for you and your perspective from where your vantage point, how it all unfolded? Because then there was a big celebration, and then a lot of the alumni joined in. You're an alum, and I know you've gotten a chance to bond with a lot of the alumni throughout the year.
Yeah, that last out for regionals was incredible. The feeling, the atmosphere, just everything about it was unreal. You know, as a player, we made it to regionals, obviously, at FSU, but having it be at home and being on the other side of it was awesome. It was so cool just to see the girls and their excitement, how happy they were, and then being able to do that as my first year coaching on staff was so cool and so just awesome to experience that.
What do you remember? Remember the selection night? What was going through your mind as we were trying to figure out if UCF's going to host or not, and then ended up popping up there as a host?
That was so fun. Hosting Supers was honestly like everything I imagined. It was cool that it was home and that we didn't have to go anywhere for sure. But seeing our name actually pop up on the screen was so fun just to experience it with the girls and the coaching staff, and it was just so happy and so many great memories, especially as I was leaving there my last couple months. Just a good closing chapter, and I'm so proud to be a UCF alum and can't wait to come back to some games and be in that awesome alumni group and just being as excited and happy as they are.
All right, good. So I didn't spoil it for everybody as I was getting mentioning off names who I thought were going in certain regions, right? Because people, I could definitely tell people were thinking I was a little crazy, which was pretty accurate.
You were getting pretty excited, and honestly, you were stressing us out over there, but it was awesome because you're the best Elo, and you always help us and get us right.
Yeah, I lost it a little bit there, but things broke right for UCF, rightfully so, which was well deserved on that. Yeah, I wasn't expecting that because I remember going in. I'm like, all right, we're gonna be low key here. We don't know we're hosting. Just it's all no big deal, which is true. But everybody wants to host, and then kind of obviously I've kind of seen the formula how it worked. And you've seen it from alums. Shelby Turnier's talked about it. Brittany Solis talked. The 15 team didn't get to host. They felt they got snubbed, and rightfully so. So there was that experience there. And did you feel that did the players get a sense that they were playing for them as much as they were playing for the school as well? Because there was a lot of alums that were getting behind the team during this run.
Oh, definitely. Coach Bear always says, we play for the past, the present, and the future. So that is always in our minds. That is always what we're playing for, and I think it shows.
Do you have a favorite game in your career? You look back, if there's one game you're like, man, that was my favorite game to be a part of. Is there one that stands out above the others?
I would definitely say, of course, my sophomore year beating Florida. Just that atmosphere and that game was crazy. Even junior year when Carissa hit the walk-off at home, I think it was junior year. That game was so crazy. I just love the game and the pressure and the close games and the good calls, the bad calls, everything about it. It's just so fun.
Yeah, now you say they're fun. You didn't think they were the bad calls were fun at the time.
No,
Uh,
especially when you lose. No, but
but yeah, but the Florida win, yeah, you pitched a one hitter in your sophomore year in 18, and then the win you mentioned by Carissa Ornelas, the walk off 2-run homer in 21 to beat Florida there. What about? Let me ask you about the New Mexico State game. It was the third home game of the season. Uh, you had just tied the record for most wins 2 nights earlier. Were you aware where you stood from a wins record standpoint? And were you surprised when Coach Bear gave you the ball on that Sunday against New Mexico State in 2021, which would turn out to be the game where you break the all-time school record in wins?
I mean, I think as a player, you try not to think about the stats, and you don't worry about them. At least for me. But obviously, in that moment, I knew where I stood, and I knew that it was close. And when she gave me the ball, I was ready. I think anyone who knows me always knew I wanted the ball, and I was going to be ready and give everyone my best of what I had. And I just thank Coach Bear for always trusting in me. And I remember when I first met her, actually, such a funny story. One of the first games she ever called pitches for me, I remember just shaking a pitch off. And I remember after getting out of that inning, and I walked over to her, and we'd always talk about the next inning or what was working and what wasn't. And she asked me why. And I just kind of looked at her, and I was like, what do you mean? She was like, why did you just shake me off? And I was just kind of like thrown off for a second. She was like, Lily, like I'm known for my pitch calling. Like I promise you're just gonna have to trust me. And ever since then, we've always trusted one another, and it's always been based off trust. And I think that's why we have such a great relationship.
Yeah. A couple last things because you have coaching duties to do now. It's not like the old days where you just talk forever.
Those days are always good.
Yeah. You got honored this past year on Senior Day again, and I know they surprised you on that on Senior Day. But what did that meant to you that they wanted to honor you again? Gianna Mancha had said she wanted to win a championship ring just so you can get a ring. What when you hear things like that, what did it mean to you that hey, let's go honor her again, even though she's not a player, but we're going to honor you again as a grad coach? You were the last introduced.
It was definitely such an honor. And again, I can't thank Coach Bear and the staff enough. And Gianna Mancha, like you said, we were the 1-2 punch and had each other's backs always. So the fact that she even said that is truly amazing, and I'm so thankful. But I definitely was surprised when they were honoring me Senior Day. But I just thank them, and it just makes my heart so happy to even be a part of that and be honored even when I wasn't a player anymore.
When did they tell you?
When it was starting.
Okay, that's how it felt like. It felt like you were awkwardly walking, not sure what to do.
Yeah, I was gonna be on the other side, and Coach Bear was like, "Hey, I think you should go get Lewis." And I was like, "Go get Lewis?" Like, I was confused. I was like, "Go get Lewis? What do you mean?" She's like, "Just go." And so I went to get him, and I was just standing, and then she was like, "I think you're gonna be in the back of the line." And I was like, oh my gosh, it was just so happy. I'm so thankful, and I'm so proud to be a UCF alum.
Yeah, I remember doing breaking that down, and there your parents asking me questions during it, like, "What's going on here? what,
Yeah,
what happened here? That's their fault. They didn't come to the weekend. They could have come. They could have seen it.
I know.
The
She
one,
said they would have. She said they would have come too,
see,
but
you always have to come.
surprise.
Well, they won't have that problem here at UNG. That'll be my last question now. Between now and the fall, as you get to know the players and they get to know you, what's going to be some of the keys that you have to accomplish beyond on the field to be successful come when the season starts in February?
Yeah, I mean, I think for me, just soaking everything in, really relying on Coach Davenport to show me the way and what he wants it to look like. And once I learn it, I promise him that I will do a great job in doing that. But just learning the ropes and learning the way and meeting the girls and just soaking in every moment. I'm excited to get started and have fun with these girls and work hard and just help them keep winning, honestly.
Well, Aaliyah, I'm looking forward to seeing you in the dugout there. I know a lot of people will be following you up close up there, but congrats on the great UCF career. Obviously, you're a grad coach, and good luck this upcoming season here. We'll be following you closely. Send our best to Coach Davenport. He's a friend of the show. Like I said, it's always a blast to talk to you, and we'll do it again down the road.
Thank you so much, Elo. Go Nighthawks.